And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And sure enough, I just had a straight shot of my cock and balls, like
Oh
in
yeah,
all of the
she was
videos.
just pouching out,
Dude,
eh?
she was. So I went and got rid of like as many as I could. But if you scroll down on my Instagram a little bit, you can see them. It's pretty bad. So
Fantastic.
yeah, I've always been
I will
careful.
100%
Now
scroll
I
down and
kind of
catch those.
cross the legs a little bit now just to be sure. But any hoozle. So you came in today fired up, dude. You were on some NAD. You said you've
Yeah,
been on.
it's a nice new supplement I've been on for week 3 now. Boys at overtime hooked it up, Julian
Yeah.
and Notch. So definitely, and it is just giving me more mental clarity with dealing with influx of everything that we've had going on.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. It's I loved being on that shit because there's like that. Were you doing the injections or the pills or what were you doing?
Injections.
Yeah, so when I did them, it's a full 100 units. I'm
Okay.
not sure how much you're doing.
I do 50 units a day.
Okay, so I would do 100 right to the ass every morning, Monday through Friday. And there's like, I would do it right before I hop in the shower. And then there's like a minute and a half in the shower where you feel like you're getting the flu. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You get this overwhelming, like, mentally dark sensation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
like-
kind of a good way to put it.
It's like the calm before the storm. Or
Yeah.
The storm before the calm.
Yeah,
As you should
yeah,
say. Flip it
absolutely.
around.
Yeah, you're like on the edge of the hurricane, and then you make it finally into the nice peaceful.
I don't know
center
why it
there.
does that. I think it's just overload of ATP through your mitochondrial
I think so.
production.
Yeah, I think so.
Very fancy word right there.
I know. Yeah, not too shabby there, brother. That was impressive. I'll have to actually ask one of my clients what that rush is in particular. But I do know that when you go and you get an IV of it, where you're getting anywhere
that's
from like
crazy.
300 to 1,000 units of it.
1200, I think, is the
12
most.
is it? Okay, yeah. Like it's like you're getting the flu. Like you
Oh,
feel like
that's
you're
what
sick.
I've heard. But also, then it lasts like a month. When
Yeah.
You do that, right?
I don't know if it's like a month, but it's definitely longer lasting than an injection.
Yeah.
But I prefer just the daily, you know,
Me too.
'cause it's just way more
Stick it in.
tolerable.
I
Yeah.
look forward to it every morning. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah. I mean, it's obviously it's an enhancer, so you know what's coming as soon as you get past that little weird feeling. You know, tight chest a little bit for me is what I get.
I love it.
But yeah, dude, that's one hell of a way to start the week. I'm impressed, and I'm sure it also helps with the gym as well.
Yeah, just recovery, cell regeneration, energy levels.
Yeah,
so-
they say cognitive enhancement. They say athletic performance, and I think inflammation too.
Yeah,
But-
inflammation, anti-aging.
Yeah, anti-aging. That's one of the biggest
big one.
things.
So yeah.
There was a period of time, dude, where I was doing BPC 157, CJC, ipamorelin, the NAD, and testosterone.
Wow.
And I was snatching 230, no problem. So,
Fucking gorilla at that mode.
dude, I felt so good for quite some time there, but it's expensive to maintain that you know, and like, 'cause I think that's, you know, probably $1,000-$1,500 a month just in like supplements, basically. So it was definitely egregious, and I don't do them all anymore. The body reflects that, but the mind is still quite sharp, my friend. Still sharp.
I love it.
So let's talk, dude.
Yeah.
You have now been in business for how long? So give me the business name, how long you've been in business, and what the next steps are in your growth.
Yeah. So company's Clean Solutions, and started right at like 9 months ago. We kind of did like some few test trials about 10 to 11 months ago, but like really kickstarting it 9 months ago. And throughout those 9 months, it's been a lot of treacherous getting in the gutters and just kind of, I like to say, putting myself in the trenches to make shit happen. And I mean,
Yeah.
doing the stuff you don't want to do, right?
Yep.
Knocking the doors, cleaning the windows, doing it all yourself until you can start hiring out those systems and processes. And even then when you do, it's like shit still hits the fan because
Yeah.
like you're still having to train, right? So like my biggest thing is like I didn't want to come to like a big brand presence until we had this window cleaning thing figured out.
Yeah.
'Cause there was a few homes that when we first started, it was a little bit like... well,
little shoddy?
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just fucking...
Well, you're learning.
Yeah, so we're learning the A to Z steps of like the do's and the don'ts, right? And came with a lot of Google, came with a lot of YouTube, ChatGPT,
Yeah.
everything like that, just to make sure that we're always progressing. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I look for in our month-to-month transitions is how much have we progressed from a systems and processes basis, from a revenue flow basis, and just from a straight know-how, right? It's like, do we know more than we knew last month?
Right.
And so if we can do that, we're on the right track. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we're on the right track, but that's entrepreneurship. So
It is.
started with like a mop and a squeegee.
Yeah.
right? I hired this college kid, came out there, and he cleaned with me, and we cleaned houses. It took us 4 hours to do a house. We could do 2 houses a day if I could get one.
Yeah.
So we were doing maybe $1,000 to $1,200 a week for the first month and a half.
Wow.
That's when I found Kenny.
Yeah.
So found Kenny second month, and this guy's an absolute beauty if you've ever met him. So
he is. We had our little cigar session, I think closer to 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
I want to say that was February or March, something like that.
I think so.
The dynamic between you two is really cool to see.
It is, yeah. It's the P's and Q's that we fill in each other's gaps, right?
Yeah.
So
well, what are your strengths and what are his?
So when Kenny came on, and I met him through a mutual friend at the gym, and I was like, listen, I really need some help, and I'd love to either have you come on and sell some window cleaning accounts or help me clean. He's like, that's funny enough. I cleaned windows for 4 years in college.
Oh, no shit.
So it was kind of that all added up, and so I actually hired him as a technician at first. But once I saw the value that he brings to the table, the attention to detail, the customer interaction, the knowledge, the know-how, and just focusing on the small things, I went to him, I was like, listen, we can do something big here. So that was when I partnered with him, 50-50, split it, and we really started to take off after that.
Right before he came on, then you were making what, $3-4 grand a month then at that point?
Right at around there.
And you said to him straight up, after how long that were you guys working together?
A month.
A month.
Yeah.
1 month, and then you just kind of noticed that he's an A player.
Yeah.
And then you just said what, 50-50, shake my hand?
Yeah, it's I need someone to run my operations,
Yeah.
right? It's I'm not the guy that's going to be in the field doing that because, one, I don't like it, so I feel like my effort goes down in positions like that.
It drains your energy, I assume.
It does, 100%. So having to do all of the sales, growth expansion, brand awareness, marketing, all of that on top of cleaning windows was just not feasible for me at the point and was digging me into a grave.
Yeah.
And so bringing him on honestly took a massive weight off my shoulders because I knew that if he was on the job site, it was going to be a 5-star quality job. And that's when we started our Google page. We got business cards made. We did all of these things that now we could build a brand around what we've already established. So the goal was to take as little customers as in the first 4 months as possible and just really focus on doing the best job possible.
So you really focused on the product first.
Yeah.
That way you had the confidence to go out, market, advertise,
100%.
and really brand yourself. Okay.
So it was I would say month 4 was where we invested into our Tucker H2O system, which is our deionized water filtration system, which allows us to do jobs in half the time than doing it by hand. So that was first step, right? And then it's starting to see the progression of the progress level of how many jobs we can do in a day. The quality of job stays the same, but the volume goes up, right? And so my biggest thing was building a foundation on one, doing the right job, right? Doing it the right way, not cutting any corners. I feel my whole life I've tried to cut corners.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows me knows that.
I think that's also kind of a quality of entrepreneurs is we're just finding the most efficient way to get somewhere. And sometimes that does mean cutting a couple corners. But as you become a more experienced entrepreneur, you realize this cutting of those corners are those details that you really need in order to teach the next person or instill a certain level of, to instill a standard in the next person that's being trained and in the process and how things get done. So,
and that's a really big thing is having a standard. And that's something that I've noticed that it's if you don't have a standard, what do you really have? Because it's you don't have any guidelines to do things by, and you don't have an expectation set so that in your head, if you're not setting the expectation, what are the customers supposed to have an expectation for, right? And when I started Clean Solutions, it was okay, what service-based industry can we pick that allows us to have one instant gratification throughout the customer on direct delivery, but 2, what allows me to implement a reoccurring contract basis within that business model? That's what's cleaning, right? And I'm selling water at the end of the day, right? And the coolest part is we're selling the homeowners water back to them. We're just using a way to clean it. So Alex from Ramsey said that. He's you're just selling water.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
But yeah, once we bought the system, we got Kenny rolling full time. He ran all my ops. Trained our first guy that we hired full time, Manny. Crushes it. Guy's an amazing hard worker. very attention to detail, and it was a problem in the beginning because it was a little bit slow, but I'd rather people be slow and learn the process as opposed to rush and miss a few pointers, right? And so that was something that I had to learn as far as that. But fast forward to today, now we'll hit a little over 35K this month. And we've got 3 full-time technicians. We've got amazing Creators Collective out here running our ads. So
yeah, absolutely. Dude.
Yeah, it's been a hoot.
Okay, really, really cool. So I guess let's talk a little bit about what pushed you into this entrepreneurial journey. We kind of discovered a little bit as to why you picked this particular niche.
Yeah.
But what was the story that brought you to the point where you're like, all right, I need to do my own thing?
I mean, it all started, honestly, in college.
Oh.
When I was a freshman at Western Carolina, honestly, I didn't want to be there in the first place. But I went to my academic advisor, and I said, listen, like, I don't want to be here. What's the fastest route for me to take all of my courses online by my senior year and working a job that I really just wanted to have purpose? I wanted to have intention. I wanted to get paid for that intention, right? And I wanted to live in the real world as opposed to being in college. And so fast forward to my senior year, I did everything that I checked my boxes. And funny enough, the degree that allowed me to do that was Parks and Rec.
What?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man, it was 100%. But by senior year, I'd done all of my in-person classes, and I had a few extra credits that I needed to get done for my to graduate.
Yep.
And so I started applying for jobs and found a job working for the Atlanta Falcons, right? Super cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was an inside sales position, so interviewed with them and a few other companies, but I made it to the final interview with the Falcons. They ended up offering me the job, but there was a contingency because they don't ever hire people without a college degree.
Oh.
Right? And so they never have in the past, and it was something new. So they said, listen, we'll offer you the job if you can complete your degree, but also succeed at this job. And I was like, yeah, of course I can do that.
Sure.
So semester came in and it gone. I failed every single one of my
No,
classes.
dude. You suck.
But I was one of the top sales reps at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
So you put them in a pickle there. What happened with
I don't
that?
think they ever found out.
Oh, okay.
And looking back at it, Patrick, you're good. You don't need to know this.
So you were,
Was my
what,
boss.
12 credits shy of graduating?
Yeah.
And still
And I just
crushed
failed.
it?
Yeah, so I didn't really focus on class at all. I just focused on selling.
Yeah.
Selling. Sold an absurd amount of season tickets and
Huge.
leveraged that job. Went up to Toronto after that to work for the Raptors as an account executive.
Mm-hmm.
And just hated corporate. So
Yeah.
I wanted to find something else. And that's when I found door-to-door sales, which honestly gave me that entrepreneurial spark in me.
How did you find out about door-to-door sales? Most people try to avoid that their entire lives and don't ever want to talk about it. So
And I did try and avoid it for a certain time. But one of my best friends of over 15 years, Tommy Farlow, he had been bugging me. Very successful guy. And I work with him to this day. We've got massive plans to go forward. But he had been bugging me to come try selling door-to-door. And it was pest control, right? Which was, why would anybody want to sell pest control, right? But then he started talking about the money and
my CEO comes
culture.
from pest control sales.
you go.
It puts some freaking hair on your nuts,
Oh
dude.
my God, it does. It definitely
Teaches you how to wear it on
sharpens
the
your
chin.
teeth.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
100%. And so quit the job at the Toronto because I had instilled all of my faith in my best friend Tommy, and because I needed more purpose, and this was the job that would essentially give me that purpose.
Time out. Pest control is giving you purpose?
It was the door-to-door aspect, and
Okay.
that's what I all thought at the time, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean,
So-
I brainwash myself every day into liking whatever absolutely terrible task I'm about to get into. So,
That's how it is.
but it sounds like the door-to-door. I mean, what were you watching videos on YouTube and Instagram and seeing these guys? Because that was a big thing for a little while. Still is.
Yeah.
Like, what was it that? What
Well,
about
there was
door-to-door?
talking to all these guys that are making like $100,000 in the summer and then
Yeah.
just traveling. And so it looked
Ah,
beautiful, right?
yeah,
Like
okay.
they painted the picture, everything like that. And so moved to New Jersey, sold pest control for 6
Jersey.
months. I know, armpit of New York, but sold pest control for 6 months and was the top rookie sales in the company. So did that. That was amazing. And then didn't pay out the way that we wanted to. I think anybody that does door-to-door can know that the back ends don't always look the way that they should.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what brought me to Texas and moved here to sell solar. And yet again, it was fantastic vehicle for me to utilize to have purpose and intention, but I was still building somebody else's dream.
Sure.
And so that's when I just started to get sloppy with it. I didn't care as much when I was selling solar. I didn't have the conviction that I needed to, and I knew that I needed to find a different outlet.
Well, if you don't believe in the product that you're selling,
and it's not that I don't believe in solar. It was one of those things where it's just such a hard press at the time, and it's such a relationship long sale as opposed to like a quick transactional sale, which is more the speed that I want to look at to using as a vehicle. So that's when I was like, all right, like I can't do this anymore, and so like started to look at a business to start. And so me and my buddy Tommy, we sat down and we went over like plans, and this is where Tommy.
And that's the pest control guy.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Best friend over 15 years. Still talk every day to this day.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he really helped me kind of jumpstart the idea of entrepreneurship because he had owned a few businesses for a few years at that time. Still does. But we found out that window cleaning was not only just very starting to become popular at the time, but the margins were crazy.
Oh yeah.
And so to kickstart and be able to pay myself money as well as build a company was something that was crucial because I had bills to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone does. And now we're to the point where obviously we're 9 months in, about to cross it, of this whole brainstorming gig of clean solutions. It was called, we originally started specifically looking at doing solar panel cleaning. We were only going to do solar panel cleaning.
That's not a bad idea.
It wasn't a bad idea, but also it's like limiting us to just one service.
Mm-hmm.
Why not clean everything?
Mm-hmm.
So we started moving to windows, and then we specifically focused on windows. Only clean windows, maybe like a gutter cleaning at the time, maybe pressure washing, but we'd have to go to Home Depot and rent a pressure washer if we sold that. Because I love to get ahead of myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's easy to, especially when you see an opportunity to make money. You know, I mean, there's been countless times throughout my entrepreneurial journey where somebody says, "Hey, can you get this done for me?" I just say, "Yes, absolutely," and then I go and find a way to get it done.
We call it being a yes man, and Kenny does not always like the yeses that I put out there, but
I did notice that dichotomy between you two. Like you're just like, "Yeah, let's fucking do it," and Kenny's just like, "All right, hold your horses
like,
now, brother."
Like, can we do it? I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I'm like, let's just Google it, right? Make sure we do a good job. If it takes us 2 days, it takes us 2 days. But now we know how to do it in the future.
Yep. Exactly.
So sometimes putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and learning as you go can be beneficial because the faster you move, the faster you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
And the faster you fail, the faster you're going to succeed because you will hit a success point. You just have to keep going.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that's what most people are afraid of is the amount of failure that you have to deal with to be successful. How stupid you have to look sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To be successful. And if you're willing to put all that aside and just focus on the end goal and just really dive in head first and go all in, I think you can do anything you set your mind to.
I totally agree. I mean, there is something to be said about the phrase of failing forward. You know, like when I look back at some of my darkest times in my entrepreneurial journey, they were just stacking both small and big losses and just absolute terrible decisions just stacked up on top of each other. And you just have to compartmentalize it. You have to just be like, okay, get that the f out of the way. In fact, I would ignore it for weeks at a time sometimes and just be like, all right, let's focus on what's working. But eventually you got to pull that box off the shelf again and look at it and evaluate and say, all right, what did I do wrong here? You know?
No, I really agree.
And that's hard to do because you're looking at everything that you've done wrong. It is extreme. It's the worst type of therapy.
It is.
But it really helps you develop yourself and push forward.
I couldn't agree more. That's why, honestly, the door-to-door aspect of me jumping into that really learned about failing.
Oh, yeah.
And because when you're knocking doors, you're going to fail 20 doors and you're going to sell one. Right? That one door is going to pay enough for those 20 no's to be worth it. Right? Now you're 10 no's to a yes. Now you're 5 no's to a yes. Now you're every 3 doors getting a yes if you're talking to the right people. And it's so just working through that. And but yeah, no, I love the journey. And I feel like sometimes the journey is the destination because so many people are so focused on the end goal. It's like, live for today for once, right?
Yeah.
Focus on those, like I said, like you just said, small wins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when things aren't always going right, you can always check smaller boxes. Get up, make your bed, right? Have a healthy meal, Go for a run. Those are 3 wins right now that you've already stacked in a day, but you don't realize it because you're only focusing on that big picture win.
Yeah.
Add up the small wins and they'll create the big wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great.
I think entrepreneurship and just owning a business in general, and one that is successful for a long time, really is just an endurance test.
It is.
Because no matter what you will achieve success, you've just got to go long enough and hard enough in order to get there. And people give up along that path.
100%. That's why you see so many small businesses staying small business, because it's not the business that's small, it's the owner that's small-minded, because they can't break through that next level, right? Because
it's uncomfortable.
Because it's uncomfortable, and they're not willing to put in the amount of failures it takes to overcome that next level, and to level up. Right?
I've also noticed, and me and my leadership team have talked about this, and we've bitched at each other about this. We're like, this business will not grow past our own personal habits. And we don't just mean like the way that we interact in business. We mean like, are we working out every day? You know, like, are we meditating every day? Are we learning something new every day? Are we reading books? You know, like, are we pushing ourselves forward personally? Because if we're not, then the business is it's never going to grow beyond us. You know, you don't see a Steve Jobs or an Alex Hormozy that isn't working on themselves, and you don't see them not working on themselves every single freaking day and absolutely grinding it out.
In one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, in one way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
And I used to think it's just like, oh, I've achieved this next level. Now I can take my gas off, or I can take my foot off the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so not true. I realized, oh, great, now I've got to go walk around, put a freaking turbocharger on the engine, and then get back in and floor it even further.
Yep.
You know? You keep thinking that this next level is going to be like this place where you can take a breath, and really you're just coming up from underneath the water to take a breath and go right back down again. You can't swim up there. You got to be constantly diving down, dude.
Learning how to hold your breath more and more every time.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm up to 5 minutes right now. I gotta
like
keep
3.5. So we're working up.
Well, I have to say, man, you know, I don't think I hit $35,000 a month in revenue, like on a monthly basis, until I was in month 3. Or excuse me, sorry, year 3. So yeah, I know.
Buddy.
I'm like trying to compliment you here, and then I'm like putting you to shame immediately.
Fucking shoves me down in the dirt. It's like, yeah, no, I don't think I hit it till month 3.
No, mine was a very slow rise because I actually avoided sales as much as possible.
Yeah.
I preferred more of the referral route, you know, like do good work and then just like have people refer you.
And that's always a great route to go.
It is. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it is. But that, again, it wasn't pushing me. So then that's when I started to get good at sales and like pushing myself there. But anyways, that's besides the point. All of that to say, you've had an incredible rise and rather quickly. You know, that's fantastic. What are the primary like levers that you would attribute that quick success to?
I'd say like the biggest thing is we didn't start too fast, and we really focused on building a foundation before shoving ourselves out into like I would say the real world, because we were kind of building our own little world in that meantime. But that means focusing on customer interaction, right? Making sure that the customers feel heard and that they feel seen and that you're there to connect with them and create a great relationship to the point where they remember your name next time you show up in service. They remember, hey, my windows are dirty, we got to get them re-cleaned. To the point where once we master those small steps, it's easier to replicate, because then all those boxes are checked in that first level. Now taking it to the second level, you double it, it makes everything a lot cleaner and less sloppy. And I feel like that's a big problem in most businesses today, is that they try to go too fast with too much, and they get to a point where their systems and processes are just crumbling at the foundation.
Oh, yeah.
And they go under.
I can tell you straight up, that's exactly what happened in my business 3 years ago. Like, we had comfortably built ourselves up to about $70,000 a month in revenue.
Yeah.
And then we went from 70,000 to 150 inside of 3 months. And everything broke.
Yeah.
Everything broke. And it took us another 4 months to basically make it all the way back down to 100, just churning clients, just sucking at everything.
Yeah.
And that's when we brought, I think, just before we hit that rock bottom, we had brought in a COO to help with operations and like build everything out as a process. And then once we were able to recreate the foundation, then we were able to go back up. But meanwhile, I thought I had everything figured out. Like, I thought
when the money's coming in, you do, right?
Right, yeah, because you're just like, oh, we're absolutely fucking crushing it. And then we realize we've got one client success manager and one media buyer managing 70 clients. And we're just like, oh, this is not the way to do things, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought I was growing slowly. And then I thought, oh, we finally hit it. So now I can really, turn on the jets, yeah, and take off. And then as soon as we did that, the F-15 just blew up in the air. So I'm glad to see that you're taking a much more measured approach to your growth.
And if anything, that's the hardest thing for me to do.
Yeah.
I'm just
Because you want more and you want it now.
moving person.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, an example is now we're on our third CRM. In 9 months, we are on a third CRM because we needed something that worked for us.
Uh-huh.
I needed something that everything's in one spot and I can compile all of my customer data, my transaction histories, my employee data, my reviews, my admin, and essentially see that from a bird's eye view. And it took me 3 different CRMs to find it. And like those are the small steps that you need to take in the first 6 to 12 months in a business to ensure that once you start making the money that you want to and the revenues flowing through the door, you can handle it the right way. Because my biggest thing is we're getting all of this revenue and we're servicing all these clients, but what am I doing for them in the future? So it's like we needed a CRM to implement contracts, right? So now we do service contracts with everybody. Everybody gets signed up on a 24-month, 6-month, or every 3-month service plan, right? My commercials are on a monthly basis now. And it's like what it does is it ensures that, one, you're able to track everything as far as your reoccurring revenue so that when you go to look at your total company's valuation, it's not just those one services that you've done, it's this compilation of all these different service contracts that span over a 2-year course.
Sorry to interrupt you. So your approach has been like just really trying to get people on the reoccurring, like come back every quarter, every year.
100%. Okay. So I mean,
is that typical for the industry?
Not particularly. I know there's a few companies out there, but I haven't seen most people like really focus on it. And I mean, me kind of specifically focusing on it, I feel like it's going to help us be more autonomous down the line as far as, cool, we've got now 400 customers and 325 of them are signed up on contracts so that next year I've already got 325 clients lined up to get serviced at an average service price of $450, right? So that was kind of the biggest thing is I want to guarantee myself success down the line on top of bringing in success. Because if you can repeat those initial customers, because shit gets dirty again. We wish it didn't, but it does. That's why car washes exist.
It's also, and it's Texas. Like there's just constant dust in the air. Yeah.
Pollen.
It's all year long. There's something in the air that keeps you from breathing.
It is. So it allows me to continuously keep the initial foundation that I've built of my customer base as well as continue to add on to it, right? So now I have this compiling list of customers that are just on a reoccurring basis. So the more I add, the more it stacks. The more I'm guaranteeing myself revenue down the line from doing a good job. And because people aren't going to sign up on a service schedule if you don't do a good job, if you don't show the customer what you're doing, why you're doing it. And I think that goes back to me talking about the foundation and really just focusing on gaining the customer's trust as a new company that's coming in. And I think that's what led us to be, I mean, we're almost at 100 5-stars now. And I started my Google business page like
in January?
5 months ago.
I think it was January or February because we did it basically right before you brought us on, right?
We started, yeah. So that's a lot. And if you read them all, it's like they're very genuine because that's how we handle our customer interactions is being genuine and wanting to build long-term relationships with them so that they know whenever their stuff gets dirty, they can call a reliable company that's going to come out and do the same consistent job every time.
You have great customer service capabilities. You have a true mission and you have an inspiration. How are you instilling that into your employees to have the same care and dedication to perfection that you do?
And just spending time with them, spending time on them, right? Spending the time to explain your goals, your aspirations, and your dreams. And making sure that they continuously know that. And if you're not at least having a conversation with each of your guys once a week on where this company is going, what the standards that we have, and how we can continuously get better, your employees aren't going to have the same dreams that you are. But once they see the aspiration, the attention to detail, the quality customer service that we have already established in our foundation, we want them to be a part of a culture, right? So that means I'm going to hire very slow and I'm going to fire very fast. Because if someone's not fitting the culture, they don't need to be here because they're not attributing to the goals that we set in the beginning.
Yeah. Have you had to fire people?
Yeah.
What does that feel like? I remember my first couple
Well,
ones. So
knowing me, I've been fired from almost every job that I've had.
You've been on the receiving end.
Yeah, so I mean, I got fired from like all my part-time jobs in high school and college for just not giving a shit. But no, it was like one of those things where it's just explaining why. And I think if you can explain to them why and give them examples on, because my biggest thing is like, there's 3 strikes right after that. It's like, if you're doing it a 3rd time, it's going to happen a 10th time.
Oh, yeah.
And so noticing, because people will show you who they are pretty quick. And once you see that, it's just, you got to replace them. And so far, we've got 2 technicians, Manny and Tavion, and they just, oh my God, they're so amazing. The way they talk to people, the way they're so delicate with everything they do. They always walk up, they take their shoes off, even if the customer says, no, no, no. They like take their shoes off and then knock the door to show that, hey, I've already got my shoes off, I'm ready to go. And that's just such a big step to take.
Yeah.
Attention to detail, right? Finding people that are like care about the work that they do. And if you read some of our reviews, it's like one of them quotes, "These guys are actually happy to clean windows." And like it doesn't like it could be anything else, right? If you can put yourself in a position to be happy, like if you can force yourself to be sad, you can force yourself to be happy, right?
I agree
It's all
with
a
that.
mental mindset when it comes to that. But no, just making sure that the guys that you have understand the dreams and the foundation and how you started and where you want to go, and that's continuously implemented and reinforced and trained on. So
Well, where do you want to go?
I want to open some more locations.
Oh.
That's kind of my goal. So I mean, nobody's ever got it figured out, right?
Right. We're all learning.
But I feel like we've gotten to the point recently where we have something that can be replicated in a way that could be successful. And so the next step is to really find the second location, as I should say. And like I said, take it slow, 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 but make sure that everything that we put into our company from the beginning gets put into that. And the Clean Solutions brand and logo now comes with a whole rap sheet of stuff behind it, as opposed to just a window cleaning company. It comes with building relationships with customers, building relationships with businesses in the area, right? Being that go-to guy in the area that they know if they Google me, I'm going to have the best ratings and reviews, and they're not fake. They're real. So I think really just focusing on replicating the foundation that we built as opposed to everything else, because if we're able to build a foundation somewhere else with what we've built here, it's just going to take off. So
Well, what do you think some of the most pivotal decisions that you've made? What do you think some of the most pivotal decisions that you've made that have brought you the success that you have so far?
being able to delegate stuff.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Why
Why do you think that?
I always like to have my hand in everything.
Same.
And it got to the point where it was pulling me away from the tasks that I actually needed to do. And so I will say the ultimate biggest decision that allowed me to get to this success was bringing on a business partner. Like, I couldn't do it by myself. I genuinely couldn't. And so I need somebody that I could trust and that I wanted to give them equity in the company to do the parts of the job that required me to add on to stuff to my day that I didn't really have time to do. Right? And so just delegating to the right people and hiring the right people is definitely, I would say, the biggest thing that's allowed me to scale to this point. Because if you don't have the right people, you really don't have anybody at all.
Well, I do agree with that, but there are a lot of people out there that would say that bringing on a business partner is a huge mistake because it can cause opportunities for, disagreements, and it can cause rifts, in the business when those disagreements become larger issues. Like, what would you to say to somebody who's skeptical of bringing in not only a business partner, but just giving them half of the business?
I think that it needs to be really earned, right? The sweat equity needs to be shown, and you have to prove yourself. And that's where Kenny was. He had proved himself to me beyond the moon to the point where he quit his job to work full-time with me as my technician before I even gave him equity as a business owner. And so just seeing a guy that'd be willing to give up everything to come start some brand new window cleaning company, and the fact that we can argue and we can disagree, but we always come to a conclusion at the end. And I think there are those people out there, if you can find them, that can really attribute to your business as opposed to take away and decide to take stuff in the wrong ways. Because the only thing we focus on is this going to be good for the business? And so far we've agreed on all of that. No matter how, because we'll yap at each other. Like I said, I go fast, he goes slow. I'm a yes man. He's a attention to detail, slower. Like, all right, like we've never done this before. What are we doing? And so once you learn those steps, then it's all progressing. But I think I think bringing on the right business partner can absolutely help you scale to the moon.
And so do you think that bringing on the right business partner is usually the opposite of you or somebody who's very similar to you?
Opposite of me. I don't need somebody like me.
Yeah.
Too much of me is too much of me. And for the people that know, they know. But no, I need somebody to hold me down sometimes because I want to go to the moon and I want to be there before I even build the rocket ship. And so having somebody like Kenny who's slow and wants to learn every step along the way has helped me slow down and really focus on the small things that I probably would have missed if I was just doing it by myself. I will say I would not be anywhere close to where I am right now without bringing on a business partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's amazing what it can do when you meet the right people and you create a brotherhood through that.
Oh, yeah.
Having the culture and not just being business partners and being friends and doing all that is really obviously what's allowed us to coexist to this point.
Yeah, and it's a chosen family, you know.
It is.
That deep brotherhood.
I agree more.
That stems from being in the trenches with somebody. Well, how does, at least in my experience, at this point, there were probably 2 years worth of days where I worked, 12 to 16, 18-hour days. And I'm sure you've done the same.
Yeah.
How has that affected your personal relationships?
Working 10 to 15 hours with Kenny a day?
Yeah, and just being, not even with Kenny, but I mean, girlfriend, wife, family members, etc. Like, where does that?
If anything, it's allowed me to have more access to that because I create my own schedule and I create my own time, and I'm the type of guy that's going to give time to the things that need time, right? That means spending time with Emily when she needs it, making sure that I'm off at a reasonable hour. But yet if something needs to be dealt with, it's going to get dealt with, right? I mean, stepping out to taking a phone call, middle of dinner, doing all that type of stuff, but also creating your own work-life balance because so many people just kind of let it happen without having a schedule, and that means check your daily boxes, right? If you can check your boxes every day with, hey, shoot my dad a text or give my mom a call or make sure I text Emily good morning if I left the house early, and it's all about intention, right? And if you have intention with your day and if you have intention with what you're doing and how you're doing it and who you're doing it with, hasn't really negative impacted me.
That's really good.
So, yeah, it may come, but
yeah, sure.
But no, I feel like that's the reason why I got out of the door knocking is because that was the time and effort that I had to spend on that to get the return was negative impacting some of my relationships and all of that. So finding something that it can be mine, I can build it, but it also allows me to have the time that I need to do was something that I was really keen on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I felt like you, just from observing you on Instagram and some of the interactions that we've had, I actually always felt like you had a pretty good grip on your work-life balance because I see you in the gym every single day.
Gotta be.
Stories popping up with Emily, hanging out at a restaurant or a quick trip somewhere. So kudos to you for that. I didn't find that balance until a few years ago. So I think it
takes time, right? It's one of those things where you got to figure out what means the most to you and who are the people that help you the most. And sometimes it's having those relationships and having those people outside of the company and outside of the job that keep you sane. And staying sane through this, although some people would disagree, to get insane, to get to a different level, I feel like is a big key thing that some people neglect, and that's mental health and taking care of your body. And
I was just about to ask you, how do you stay sane?
Biggest thing is if I don't go to the gym in the morning, I will go crazy.
Yeah, okay, good to know.
So I've got to go gym, sauna, cold plunge, do that Monday through Friday, and then I'll run on the weekend, go on hikes with the girlfriend and the dog, do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just moving my body and giving myself the time that I need to build myself allows me to help build the company. Because if I can come to the table with full force, mental clarity, I've had my workout, my cognitive abilities through the roof, I feel good, you look good, all those things attribute to growing your business further and further. And like you said, the business is only as small as its owner. right? And that's why the small businesses will stay small businesses, because people don't work on themselves as much as they need to.
So bringing in personal and the business side of things,
Yeah.
what would you say to somebody who is just, let's say somebody is in your position 9 months ago, and they're looking to build a cleaning business, whether that's window washing, power washing, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. What would be like some key points for them that you would say, like, you have to do this or you're not going to make it to my level? Because I wouldn't expect you to give advice on the next level, right?
Yeah.
But up to your level right now, what would you say to them?
Never pass something off until you've mastered it yourself, or at least you can teach it to somebody to learn it as good as you know it. And that's with everything, because I feel like a lot of people will just delegate something without actually learning what that actual thing is that they're delegating. And so if you can learn from the beginning everything that goes on and why it goes on and the impact that it makes because it's going on, that's going to allow you to have a better trajectory when you're trying to get to that next level as far as building the right foundation to scale. So I would say focus on the small things, right? They are the big things, because the small things build up to create the big things, I feel.
Now, I would like you to go ahead and take a look at this this little podcast, this little chat session at the end of the year. What do you believe is going to bring you to 100K a month, and how will you execute?
Hiring.
Okay.
hiring. We have a lot of systems and processes to do that right now, but we haven't hired the right people to get us to that point. And so right now I'm just really working on hiring the right people, making sure that the tasks are properly delegated so that it allows me more time to work on the business as opposed to in the business.
A lot of people say that, but what do you believe will be the difference between working in and working on? What tasks? I know this is a hard question, but like, what do you believe is working on the business instead of in?
Working on the business is expansion, right? Creating opportunities for new locations, right? Finding funding to help open up these new areas, going around and creating relationships with commercial clients in the area. And I like that is still working in the business, but I feel like to a certain point it's working on the business.
Higher leverage tasks.
Higher leverage tasks that allows me to pass off the small stuff that takes up and fills up those gaps that I could be working on scaling, growth, expansion, more revenue coming in, all these different things, recording more videos. So like just creating more of a brand through that as opposed to just trying to sell accounts, right? And that's really how I started. I'm still there. I'll go knock doors today.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the, actually, I'm not sure how to frame this question per se. Well, I guess, yeah, at what revenue point in a cleaning-based business
Yep.
do you believe you have to start investing in branding, marketing, advertising? Because I think a lot of people would give a lot of different answers.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who's VC backed would be like, right away, throw it in there. But like somebody who's starting organically and from scratch,
Yeah.
you know, what do you think?
Say 10K a month.
Yeah.
If you're consistently bringing in, but you don't want to do it after your first 10K month. You want to know that you can go do 10K a month, maybe 11K. So 10 to 15 is really, I feel like, that sweet spot to start reinvesting into yourself, because then you have money coming in, you're paying your guys, you're setting a little bit aside, you're paying yourself. Cool, let's pay yourself a little bit less. Let's reinvest that into brand awareness through marketing, SEO. Let's build a website. Right? Let's find a logo that looks appealing, right? As opposed to just a name.
You guys have a cute little logo.
I love it. But yeah, just really, I would say that 10 to 12K a month mark is really where you need to start taking the next steps toward initiating those future movements within the company. So that means like getting reviews, building a Google business page, right? Creating brand awareness. So
What were your first steps in marketing, advertising, and brand awareness?
creating a Google business profile
Yeah.
and just getting customers that we know we did a good job on to leave a review, like an honest review.
Yep.
And it just started to roll, and then got introduced to you through TJ,
Yep.
our good friend who
Yep.
owns Washroo, and
TJ is responsible for 99% of my introductions in Austin, Texas.
he is fantastic. He knows everybody and anybody.
and what does he ask for? He only asks for 10% every time. That's
I
what
love it. Oh, I love it. But no, TJ introduced me to you, and I I'm so lost when it comes to the marketing, SEO,
Not
ad spend.
Not when it comes to being on camera, though. I will say that you're good on camera.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Sorry, continue.
No, you're good. I mean, cheesing out, blushing. Yeah, the chip is not there. But no, just when I met you, it's like honestly, like your personality and your knowledge and your conviction behind what you do and what you've done and what you knew you could get us to was all there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just took me believing in it because like I said, I'm so new to that whole world. And like I'm still pretty new, but I have a 10 times better understanding than I did from day one.
Big time, yeah.
And so that's where it's like really like we do need, like any business that is going to be successful needs to run ads. It's one of those things where how else are you going to get business?
You could door knock.
You could door knock, and
You could send flyers out to your neighborhood.
You could put postcards or like the posters signs out there. Yeah, you can do blimp.
Yep. Yeah. Highly recommend. Best investment you could ever make.
Startup cost investment. Blimp.
That's funny.
But no, just really trusting in your knowledge and understanding from everything that you explained to us from day one. I think that's what pushed us over the edge to move forward with getting everything set up with Kanters Collective, and to the point where we are now. It's like 3 months in, I called you. I said, I don't think this is working because we weren't getting that many leads. We were spending more than we were making at that point, and I was like, it's like I know we're in a contract, but like, is there any way to like back out, like back?
Twice you asked me just like, hey, is there any way we can like reduce this? Like, I'm like, bro, I already gave you a freaking $5,000 package at $22.99. Do not call me trying to get this shit reduced, dude.
Because
like,
I was so skeptical because I didn't know enough to trust the process.
Yeah.
And what month are we now?
So I think we started in January when we first did website and some SEO, or February. You're right. We talked in January, executed in February, March, April, May, June. Has it already been 5? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It has been 5 months.
Yeah, 5 going on 6.
5 going on 6. So.
And it took, I think it was around that 3-month mark-ish. I mean, that's usually what it is when it comes to our clients. We're just like, just chill the fuck out, eat a little bit of the cost. Like, we have plenty of clients who start an advertisement and they just start closing right away.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a slow burn to get up to that point,
100%.
you know? And so
we're getting like, what, 3 a week for like the first.
I think so. I think because
month?
your cost per lead was around like it was varying between like 75 and 150.
Yeah.
And 150 is nowhere near what we want. We aim for like 25. Like that's what we want most of our service-based business advertisements. That's what I want most of our service-based business cost per leads to be at.
Yeah.
Because if you even have a bad close rate at 20%, then you're still making money. You know. Yep.
So.
Yeah, so I guess dive into a little bit more of what that emotional roller coaster was, because I only saw it after you had talked to me about it, and we had a cigar at one point, and then, which by the way is actually kind of funny. I think both times that you talked to me about it, I ended up selling you on spending more on advertising.
You did. You did. It's like we just gotta pump the numbers up.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And honestly, you need to spend more to make more.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, and understanding that concept. And I mean, after the first time, it's like all I'm saying is that it has continuously progressed, and now we're getting 5 to 6 leads a day.
Yeah, which is cool.
A day. It's so cool. All from our stupid little videos we put up.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because initially we're like, all right, let's do a Google strategy. And we launched you on Google Ads, and I think you closed 2 out of the 3 of the first 3.
We did, and I was high on life.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, I was just like,
it's like
great.
These guys came to me.
Yeah.
The window cleaning. Like, they saw me and said, I want to use him.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty awesome. And then I'm like, great, this will be easy, smooth sailing. And then you go, hey, we're getting some leads that are like really far out. Like we're gonna go service them, but like, can we drop the radius a little bit? And I was just like, yeah, sure. I don't see a problem with that because I figured there's enough search volume.
Yeah.
We did that, and then leads went to shit, like almost immediately.
Down the drain.
Yep. And so we were just like, fuck. So we were like, okay, well now let's hit up on Facebook. And then we got leads, but they were slow to come through, high CPL. But then eventually I just noticed that like anytime we were spending more money after that first time that we convinced you over the cigars, then you started to do a little bit better, although it was still kind of, like up and down a little bit.
We're still figuring out how to shoot our videos and getting the right videos
that too.
Down and like being in front of the camera.
Yep.
What scripts worked, what didn't, and that's obviously attribute it to you guys.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, you as well, because you guys were spitballing and coming up with stuff on the fly as well, which has been good. And then there are a lot of people that, when it comes to the branding side, there are a lot of people that see your advertisement, they go and they follow you on Instagram. They don't quite buy yet. They're like waiting for that. Like, this is how I interact a lot of times. Like, I like it, not ready to buy it. I'm gonna follow them. I know that when the next organic post comes up and it shows up in my feed, I'll be reminded that, oh, maybe now it's time to do that, and I'll go ahead and do that. So when you create like good and in some cases funny content, like that's building that brand, that's building that trust, and it's putting a face to the name.
Yeah.
And I think 100%. You guys have done a really good job with that.
Appreciate that.
Now, when we first started talking, and you were telling about the goals for the business, you're like, I want to get it up to this level, and we're gonna sell for 1.2, and then I'm freaking done. And I'm just like, well. I was just like, I don't think you should try and do that way, but I was just like, you know what? He's a young gun right now. Let's see how he does here.
Fresh bait.
Yeah, 100%. Now, where do your goals lie? Like, what is the vision looking like for you now?
I mean, the vision's to get this thing autonomous, where I'm really hands off unless I need to be, and I obviously always want to be a part of it.
Sure.
But to the point where it doesn't involve all my time of the day. But I'd also love to scale this thing to like at least 10 to 15 locations here in the next 2 years. So there's some very strong, we've seen it done. I will say we've seen it done within the service-based industry, and I want to build my own roadmap to getting to those first 10, 15 locations, and where they're going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Who's going to run them? I don't know either. But that's all come with hiring the right people, bringing the right investors on board, all that type of stuff. So yeah, I would love to, in 2 years, be able to take a look at it and be like, okay, like we have done all of this in a 2-year time frame. What's next? So, because I'm never gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, let's use this as an opportunity to hold you accountable. Where do you want to be at the end of this year? Yeah. And then where do you want to be at the end of next year, so that the next time we sit down, we can go back over all the accomplishments that you've had and done.
I think we can do 100K a month by the end of this year, considering we're already at 30, 35. So I know we'll hit 40 next month for sure.
Absolutely.
But I think 100K a month by December is completely reasonable with the trajectory and the continuous growth patterns that we've seen. What was the second question?
Where are we going to be at? Not this December, but the following December. So that'll be
December.
Of 27.
Dipping my foot into other stuff. Having the time and ability to maybe go start a different service-based company while this one continues to run itself, right? Maybe sell off part of it. Who knows? And that really comes with time. But I'd love to have a very good passive life at that point in 2 years, to the point where I can do what I want to do. Whether it's like, okay, I want to go build this company, or I want to go build this company, or I want to invest in this and do that, and start dabbling in real estate. I do want to start developing a little bit of real estate here soon. So
Don't do real estate, dude. Don't do fuck it. Everybody's doing freaking real estate, dude. You could just put it in the market and earn the same that you're gonna earn on an investment property, dude.
100%.
Just put it in there.
There's ways to go about it.
I'm just gonna have you talk to my money guy, dude. Okay. I can't let you get into real estate, dude. Let Alex Harmozy take care of all the apartment complexes.
Seriously.
And no, I'm teasing.
That's Grant Cardone.
Oh yeah, Grant Cardone. You're right. My
Yeah.
apologies.
100%.
Yeah, no. Right now, Alex is all about the treasury bonds. I think. I think that's his big thing right now. All right, dude. Biggest piece of advice to close this out that you would give to any entrepreneur or individual who's currently working that 9 to 5, is hating it, isn't graduating college, and wants to go to that next level and like have something of their own. Any piece of advice?
Don't be afraid to reach out. Never, ever be afraid to ask somebody that you look up to or that you value to meet with them, or for some advice, because people love talking about themselves. And if you can pull one small nugget away from 2 or 3 different people, create your own thing. The biggest thing is most people are afraid to take the first step. And if you have like that one person that could connect you to the right person, it's like, don't be afraid to ask, right? Because asking questions gets you places. Asking no questions gets you nowhere. So just don't be afraid to take that first step and to reach out to somebody and learn about it, because nobody knows what they're doing. They may look like they know what they're doing, but nobody knows what they're doing. We just learn it along the way. And so they like to say fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so all you have to do is take that first step and realize it's
You're walking on water.
not that big of an ocean.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So to close it out, if you're in Austin, Texas, and the surrounding areas, how can people get a hold of you and book you to make their house absolutely gorgeous?
Yeah, 100%. Look us up. Clean Solutions, Austin, Texas, window cleaning, pressure washing. You can go to our website, cleansolutionsusa.com. Just ask for a free quote. We'd love to get you one. So,
Love it.
that'd be awesome.
Good job, dude. Awesome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you, brother.
Yep. You
Great
too.
work on this shit.
That was fantastic.
Can't wait to hold you to your goals and aspirations
We'll see where we are.
this December.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Let's keep going.